if you were to distill into 5 top tips for helping your child successfully navigate social difficulties at school, or even just the social landscape that is a school, what would your top 5 tips be?
The first thing we can do is really help our children understand their values and their character. Our children need to know who they are. When we know who we are, no one can take that from us. So speak to our children. Once we know what that is, compliment them on it. You are so kind. You are so inclusive. You are so thoughtful. And our optimism in our children becomes their optimism in themselves. And when we focus on their character above all else, they truly develop a strong sense of self, which leads to great success socially, emotionally, and academically.
I love that.
The second tip is to listen without fixing.
Very difficult to do.
Again, really difficult to do. This is the wonderful gift our children give us, Helen. They teach us to upskill in ways that have this incredible influence on them and their lives and everybody who encounters our little people. So when we listen without fixing, we just show them, empty your heart, empty your thoughts. I'll hold this for you. And I'll be in that space. And when we listen without judgment and we listen without suggestions, at least initially, we allow them to truly explore what's on their mind without our adult agenda coming in. And then, Helen, we can ask, would you like my advice or would you like me to just keep listening?
Love it.
The third tip is help them feel capable in their lives. Help them feel that they are actually the expert on them. And this is where we have to be really aware as parents of our own triggers, of what our own childhoods were like. And sometimes if we're an extrovert and our child is introverted, that might be a trigger, or vice versa. Our children can only be who they are, and we want them to feel really confident in that. So we want to ask more questions than giving answers, and we want to keep turning the tables back onto them. What do you think about that? Tell me more, or how come, rather than giving all of the answers away. My fourth tip is help them find their people. So once our children have a really good understanding of their character and their values, we want to help them look out for people who share similar character and values. We unite in friendship when we look at another person and we think, oh, you get that. I get that too. And also helping them really find out what their hobbies and interests are, because that is also where they will find their people.
Yes.
So we want to support them to have a connected group of people around them who want the best for them. And this can be really tricky because sometimes they'll make choices or seek out people that aren't necessarily good for them. Yes. And then we also have to be silent and try really hard not to jump in and put our opinion in, because that can really backfire. And so perhaps we can ask our children, how do you feel after you've spent time with so-and-so, in the most non-judgmental way we can? Yes. And so then we're really helping our children tune into how different people make them feel a different way, and they start learning to tune into their gut. Lastly, if your child is struggling socially or emotionally, I think it's a really good idea to seek some extra support. And I'd start by asking the teacher, how do you think they're going? Have you noticed anything? Because they're coming home and they're sharing a lot of these challenges. Do you feel like, compared with most of the kids their age, are they struggling a little bit more? Would it be worth us getting some extra support for them?
Absolutely.
Because there are so many resources out there online. There are resources, there are psychologists and counsellors who can help. The earlier we upskill our children socially and emotionally, the better chance they have at adapting to all the different people that they'll meet in a school and then across their lifespan.
I love that. I think it's a really important first touch point is the school teacher. And then, of course, at SPW, we have a school psychologist.
Yes.
It's another excellent resource who can perhaps then point you in the direction of those experts that you might wish to connect with in order to support your child. And sometimes it's difficult to understand if we ourselves did not have social issues when we were at school.
That's right.
I was a very socially outward and
Yes.
child. My daughter had quite a few problems finding her people, finding her
Yes.
tribe. And in our case, we did seek some additional support, and she still thanks me for that to this day. It was very hard for me to support her through that because I didn't understand. So I think, as you say, that there are just a wealth of resources that we can tap into, and it's tough bringing up kids.
It is.
And we don't need to do it alone.
We really don't need you alone. And thank you for bringing that up about your daughter, because I think on this final point, help seeking is an excellent thing to role model to our children. For our mental health and wellbeing, we cannot do life alone. We will at various stages of our life really benefit for asking for advice and support for others. So if we can teach our children, okay, this is tricky, let's get someone else's advice on this. We're really role modeling well to our young people. This is what you do. You're not meant to have all the answers all the time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I love those 5 top tips that you've distilled that conversation into for us, and it's just been wonderful having you here.
It's wonderful being here. Thank you.
Thank you.